You have heard me talk about series, and I'm going to do it one more time, and that is to say that I am a garden mentor every other week on Mondays at the Ceres Garden here in Santa Rosa. And if you don't know Ceres, it is a wonderful program, and it's mostly known as a group that offers very nutritious meals to people who are recovering from health issues. But it's actually, at the same time, it is also a wonderful youth empowerment organization, teaching youth how to garden one week, and then the next week, teaching them how to cook and prepare super healthy, very nutrient-rich meals. And I go and I play in the garden because I like to have my hands in the dirt. And one of the things that we do each time, one of the rituals involved in going to the garden each week, is that we have what is called an observation walk. And it is exactly what it sounds like. We spend a set time, usually about 5 minutes, and we walk in silence around the garden to observe. Now, the youth are in the garden every other week, which means they have about 2 weeks in between observation walks, which is just enough time to be surprised by something. Something will have changed. And as the seasons change, they become aware of that through their observations. And so when it gets to be fall, we tend to hear about how the harvest is becoming less and less because they find fewer and fewer strawberries. Or they talk about the peppers and the tomatoes that aren't quite coming in. And as we move into the winter period, and the garden turns more of a brown, and everything's kind of droopy, someone will inevitably come back to the circle with their observation and say, this plant is dying off. And that is when Farmer Joey, who is leading us, will offer a reframe. And he'll say, oh, you know, that's not dying. It's going dormant. And this little reframe has happened every time I've been there, every other week for the past 3 months. I observed that this is dying, and Farmer Joey says, oh, it's not dying. It's just going dormant. And then he launches off into a whole conversation of what that means in the plant cycle life. And every time this happens, I kind of giggle a little bit, and I think, man, Farmer Joey is like embodied hope. It's not death, it's just dormant. And I love this partially because I find his hope to be contagious. And that's wonderful because hope, as we all know, can be difficult to hold on to. Isaiah's vision, as Evelyn was saying, is certainly full of hope. Hope for a shoot to sprout forth from a dead stump, or is it just dormant? Hope that the animal kingdom's hunters and prey will live side by side and share in a vegan diet. The scene in Isaiah has come to be known as the peaceable kingdom, a title for the shorthand of God's peace radically reshaping norms and reshaping assumptions so that no bloodshed occurs. It's radical and audacious, and I love hearing it every year, don't you? God's peaceable kingdom is a vision that can stick with us and that we hear about because it is one of those visions that seems possible in one moment and then gone in the next, or impossible, and then you feel like you might have just gotten a glimpse. It seems like every time we humans get somewhat close towards a radical vision of peace like this, close towards community and relationship that feels beautiful and glorious and even maybe a bit magical, it disappears. Or we get really close only to realize that we have not quite made it. It is just a little further over that hill. Or we get there and we just can't seem to stay. That beautiful moment is gone, and we can't get it back no matter how hard we work or try or pray. We keep getting close, but we can't quite get there or stay there. And historically speaking, that's the way of it, right? Even ancient Israel, as we heard, they're always on the cusp of tragedy, which is also on the cusp of triumph, and they're living on this knife's edge. And they're about to do really well, or they're afraid of really big problems, and they bounce back and forth, but never quite landing in good enough for long enough to rejoice for an extended period. It's the same thing with me and dog training. Because, yeah, you all have heard some of the stories of me and Oscar and some dog training, and so here's another one. For those of you that are new to the saga of me and my almost 3-year-old puppy, Oscar, he could be quite a handful. And these past 9 months or so, we've worked really hard with him, and we've taken him to the trainer, and we've done all the things. And we have these glorious moments now of walking side by side, he on my left, and we go blocks, and we don't see cats, and it's wonderful. And so on Friday, I said, Oscar, we're up for a big one. We're going to go to my favorite coffee shop, and it's about a mile to get to Railroad Square. And so we went, and we made it, and he is sitting right at my feet, and he has been so good, even though a bike has come by and another dog has come by, and I am sipping my espresso, and I'm on the phone talking, and that was glorious. And in the next moment, a little lion emerges from next to me and roars and jumps and tries to go and get the skateboarder that I didn't even know was coming down the street. And my sense of hope and peace and comfort was gone. And we were right back to come here, boy, and lots of treats, and back, way back in our training. But I do have those moments of what the good, well-trained dog who's super chill at my side is like. And then it goes away, and we're back to the basics. It seems to me that dog training and God's kingdom on earth are perhaps cyclical cycles rather than linear. And what I mean by that is linear thinking suggests you start at point A, and you do a lot of work and you get to point B, and you kind of go on this uphill trajectory, and it always gets better and better as you're moving. But I would suggest that it's less going up and up and up over time, even with great intention. And it's more like a cycle of you're doing great, and then you come back down and you start it all over again. And then you do really great, and you come back right down. And you hope that that goes up and gets better over time. But sometimes it does, and some days, well, some days you can't have coffee while on your walk with your dog. Because these are cyclical, we do have glimpses. We have glimpses of what God's kingdom might look like. But we also know that there is insecurity in us, in our system, that can cause that to come crashing right back down. And the beautiful piece, of course, is when we know that these wild animals and lions and tigers and bears and children do come together and have amazing, beautiful community. But keeping that together is, well, it is a vision at best. And yet, those shoots come forth. We see the peaceable kingdom, and we can thank God for those shoots, because they are there to remind us that we can work towards change, and we can learn, and we will have these moments of sublime peace and understanding and goodwill. And those shoots, those moments, signal that God is present and is working in our lives, and has been and will be working with us in the future. And they signal not just what has been, but what can be. The shoot is not just a plant in nature, it is our nature yours and mine. For when we love, when we welcome, when we share ourselves with one another, we embody God's peace and compassion and justice. Right on time. Good job, dog. And as we do these things, we become living signals for other people. So we are called to stand as a signal, so that all nations might know that there is a God among us, and there is a way to know peace, and that there is hope in the midst of despair. There is even joy in the midst of brokenness. So may we stand as a signal in the fullness of God and the fullness of faith. And this Advent season, this week, let us consider, what are the shoots and the signals of the peaceable kingdom in your life? What signals you to think of hope? And how are you that signal for others?